U.S., Israel want white helmets out of Syria to prevent exposure. Ex-CIA officer Katerina Blinov asked the Syrian Arab army is intensifying its southern advance. The situation is heating up. Speaking to Sputnik, analysts explained what could be behind the controversial evacuation of the white helmets from Syria to Jordan by the Israeli military at the request of Washington. Under the guise of the white helmets evacuation, Western powers were apparently seeking to cover their tracks and pull their valuable assets out of Syria, says Ghassan Qadi, a political analyst of Syrian origin. The enemies of Syria got into the country under many different banners and guises, and the white helmets is only one of many, Qadi told Sputnik. That said, the so-called white helmets were known to be mainly in Syria's north, previously in Aleppo and recently in the Idlib region. So how did they allegedly end up in the south without a deal that facilitated their transport to that area? Such a deal would have required the consent of the Syrian government, but there is no such deal. The political analyst presumed that, given the good name the Western media gave the white helmets as the alleged defenders of the victims of the regime, the name white helmets is probably now been used as a cover for every important asset that the enemies of Syria want to help leave Syria under the guise of helping the heroes. Most probably, those assets include Western, Israeli, Saudi and United Arab Emirates (UAE) military operatives and advisors, and there is no better face-saving manner that would facilitate their exit other than branding them as white helmets, Qadi suggested. And let us not forget that the white helmets themselves are not stitched on the heads of their bearer, he added. Anyone can wear a white helmet and become a white helmet, just like former terrorists which left Syria into Turkey and then entered the EU as refugees. On July 22, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that he had authorized the evacuation of white helmets volunteers at the request of U.S. President Donald Trump and other Western leaders. The organization, largely hailed in the West, has been repeatedly spotted engaging in false flag operations in terrorist-held regions in Syria. Copyright Reuters. Israeli army, handout. People walk past Israeli soldiers as they board a bus during the Syria civil defense, also known as the White Helmets, extraction from the Golan Heights, Israel. In this still image taken from video, provided by the Israeli Army July 22, 2018, specially trained operatives Christopher Assad, a Canada-based political observer and writer of Syrian origin, echoes Qadi's concerns. He presumed that among the evacuees could be specially trained operatives. According to Assad, this is the only reason they are being rescued instead of the hundreds of civilians stuck in the middle of military operations in southern Syria, whom these people were supposed to help. As a Syrian, I deplore the propaganda role assigned to these terrorists by their Israeli, Arab and Western handlers, Assad stressed. The political observer pointed out that Syria has had its own national branch of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Society since 1954. He stressed that Damascus had also established the Institution of Civil Defense in 1953, which is 64 years before the so-called White Helmets suddenly appeared in order to fake chemical weapons attacks for the benefit of Western audiences and to garner pity for al-Nusra Front terrorists with Western public opinion. According to Assad, the West's concerns over the evacuation of the NGO are quite understandable given previous reports about French, Belgian, German, Canadian, Israeli, British, Dutch and American operatives among rebels in Syria. In order to avoid the blame game on why they have lost the war in Syria, the US, Canada and the UK instructed Israel to help, via the Western intelligence hub in Amman, so that the rapprochement between all Western partners in the war on Syria can remain intact as no party wishes discord between these partners in crime, the political observer opined. Copyright photo, YouTube, Gamma Iota Alpha Nu Eta Sigma Aldebaran White Helmets, seen here celebrating with Nusra extremists. The White Helmets evacuation by Israel was predictable. The White Helmets evacuation by Israel was predictable as the group has been working together with Israel, the US and also various terrorist groups. Philip Giraldi, a former CIA case officer and US Army intelligence officer, emphasized. They have never worked in areas where the Syrian Arab army has had control and are little more than terrorist apologists. According to the CIA veteran, the US and Israel want to get the White Helmets out of the country so they cannot be questioned by journalists. and the Syrian government, which would reveal their affiliation with the terrorist groups and also the Israeli and U.S. military. They are afraid that the Syrian army will arrest them on sight, with good reason, as they are an affiliate of the terrorists, Giraldi underscored. Copyright Reuters. Israeli army, handed an Israeli soldier hands out water on a bus, during the Syria civil defense, also known as the White Helmets, extraction from the Golan Heights, Israel. In this still image taken from video, provided by the Israeli army July 22, 2018, evacuation of White Helmets prevented potential bloodshed. For his part, Israeli political analyst and publicist Avigdor Eskin opined that Israel's actions at the request of the US, Canada and the EU had prevented a potential bloodshed by allowing the White Helmets to flee the theater of war. He cited previous cases, including the liberation of Aleppo, when Syrian rebels of various affiliations were allowed to leave embattled areas to pave the way for reconciliation. 400 White Helmets and their family members were allowed to enter Israel and to continue to Jordan, Eskin said, suggesting that the move had contributed to the peaceful settlement in the war-torn country. The Israeli analyst opined that all efforts aimed at preventing violence should be hailed, especially given the fact that the 7-year war has claimed the lives of more than 500,000 Syrians. According to Jordan's foreign ministry, 422 out of 800 White Helmets volunteers and their family members have been evacuated by the Israeli military. Al-Nusra Front, also known as Tahrir al-Sham, and ISIS, is ISIL, or terrorist organizations banned in Russia. The views and opinions expressed by the contributors do not necessarily reflect those of Sputnik.